Thank you for joining me today. Safety Series number 13, Lockout Tagout Employee Classifications, brought to you by the Occupational Safety Leadership Podcast and Applied Safety and Environmental Management. My name is Dr. David Ayers, and let's get started. Lockout Tagout is the slang name for the Control of Hazardous Energy found under 29 CFR 147. This is basically when something has to be fixed. So when you think about you're at a production facility, your factory, you're doing something has to be fixed, unjammed. Maybe it's just everyday maintenance, and there's nothing wrong. You're doing preventative or predictive maintenance. So let's talk about the different employee classifications that we're going to find there. So we have the authorized, the person who's going to do the work. Affected, it's on their machine that the work is happening. And then you have other, which is really a catch-all for anybody else in the workforce out there. Let's go to the first one, the authorized employee. So this is the person that you call that's going to go ahead and fix the machine, isolate the power, whatever the deal is. And so these are going to be the ones who are authorized by the company to apply and remove the lockout tagout devices. And like all things, they have to demonstrate proficiency in performing these procedures. So that doesn't mean that one person is trained to do everything on all things at all times. They're much like us humans in everyday life, of course, maintenance people are really good at certain items, and other items, not that they're not good at it, but they have not had the training. They don't know what it is. And so you still have to have that training. You have to have that proficiency. You still have to know how to go back and do these procedures to isolate the power. We think of power, of course, as the primary thing, but you can also have compressed dry air. You can also have chemicals involved, springs, pneumatics. There's all kinds of other forms of hazardous energy out there. Let's go on to the next employee classification. We have the affected employee. So think about a person who's working a line here. They're boxing up cereal. Looks like a pretty cool place to work. Actually nice and clean. So this person is running this. So they are not in charge of doing the maintenance. So they are the affected employee. Now you can also be the affected and be the authorized person too. You can be two job categories. You can be authorized to fix this on your belt because you've been trained and have the proficiency, but when it comes to running another piece of machinery, you might be the affected and have to call somebody. So let's look at the formal definition of affected employees. These employees operate the machinery and equipment in which servicing and lockout tagout is going to be performed. So the authorized person can also be, the affected can be the authorized, and we just went over that scenario in that case there. So let's go on to the third classification here, which is kind of the catch-all here. And we have the other employee. So this is a person who's going to be in the area. They are not authorized or affected. When you think about this, you could be in the shipping department. Let me think of some of the other. You could be a supervisor. That you definitely you know about the machinery. You also know that you don't touch things. You know the people to call, and so you could just be a other. And so employees in this group need to be able to recognize those lockout tagout procedures, devices, and everything else, and of course obviously instructed not to remove them, not to start up the machinery again. That's only when the authorized person is done. That's when they then go ahead, take off that lockout tagout, they turn it back to the affected person, and boom, you're back up and running again then. So let's cover a couple of scenarios because you can be multiple classifications. So let's just kind of sit down and kind of cover a couple of everyday scenarios that people can encounter out there. So scenario 1 here, we have Ted is having trouble with the drill press and calls maintenance. So Ted is the affected employee, which I spelled wrong here, since he is not performing the maintenance. If he was performing the maintenance himself, he could be both affected and be the authorized person. Let's go on to the next scenario and look for any typos I've done too. So in this next scenario, we have Gina. So Gina's walking through the production floor, and she's going to go talk to the production manager then. So Gina, in this case, is classified as a other employee. She's not operating machinery. She's not fixing machinery, but she does have to be instructed not to remove lockout tagout devices. Don't energize things. Don't do any of that stuff. That's for the authorized person only. Let's go on to our third scenario here. And so in this scenario, Bob is called to fix a broken sprocket. So in this case, Bob is classified as the authorized employee. So he is being called to fix it. He will be the one who isolates the power, the gear, whatever the deal is. He fixes it. He then turns it back over to the affected employee afterwards. They crank it back up and run it, and everyone's happy again then. So that was a couple of scenarios when we sit down and we look at authorized, affected, and other employees. So let's do a little recap of Safety Series 13, Lockout Tagout Employee Classifications. The authorized employee is, of course, obviously authorized to do the maintenance and to apply the lockout tagout devices, take them off, all that good stuff. Affected is typically your belt, your sprocket, your drill press, your piece of machinery that has to be fixed. You are not fixing it because then you would be both affected and authorized, and you can be both, but you have to have that proficiency. And then finally, the third one is kind of the catch-all, because if you're not authorized and you're not affected, then you're just a other employee. So other employees, you must know and understand lockout tagout devices. Also, you are instructed not to remove the lockout tagout devices. And that's it. Safety Series 13 done. So I'd like to thank the Occupational Safety Leadership Podcast and Applied Safety Management. Please subscribe to the channel below for more in the Safety Series. Thanks a lot and have a safe day.